Greetings, YouTube. This is LordBron216 here with a bit of a rant. If you follow the news lately, I should put a disclaimer with this. There's going to be strong language. It's going to be very vulgar because one of the things in this topic, one of the topics in this video, I should say, is something I'm very passionate about, and the other one I could really give two shits about. But I just want to give forewarned, if you are offended by strong language, I suggest you do not watch this video. Yes, I have a farmer's stand. Anyway, so the two things I want to talk about today are the 8-year-old child shooting his grandmother in the face minutes after playing Grand Theft Auto. 2, Miley Cyrus, if we talked about her. Anyway. So if you follow the news, basically there's a story of an 8-year-old child that shot his grandmother in the face minutes after playing Grand Theft Auto 4. Oh, I'm sorry, she's playing Grand Theft Auto 5. And everybody is blaming the video game. They're blaming Grand Theft Auto. They're saying it's too violent. A kid should not be playing it. They're correct. Kids should not be playing it. It is not a child's game. There's sex. There's drugs, there's alcohol, there's violence. It is basically what you see in the real world, and a child should not be introduced to that yet. That's something they need to experience on their own. My biggest thing is that they're not looking at the fact that the child was left alone with the child had access to a loaded gun. They're not looking at that whatsoever. They're more looking at the violent video game, as usual. It really bothers me when people blame video games because their child is violent or whatever. If you're not willing to take the time to tell your child that, look, whatever happens in this movie, video game, story, whatever, is not real, and don't do what it shows in the game, movie, or whatever, you set yourself up for trouble. It's a parent's job to tell their kid what is right, between right and wrong. And if you can't do that, your child's probably going to end up violent. I'm not saying it's a possible thing. I'm not. You could, I might say that video games aren't always the way. No, I mean, yeah, there's probably some cases, but 95% of the time, it's not. It is negligent parents that are letting their young kids play these types of games. A parent should not be letting an 8-year-old child play Grand Theft Auto. Speaking of Grand Theft Auto, this kind of threw me for a loop. How is an 8-year-old child playing Grand Theft Auto 5 when that's not even released to the public yet? Technically, it doesn't even exist. It's still programmed in numbers and visual models. It's being released September 10th. And this is August 26th. There's no way a child should have that. But that's just me. But the biggest thing that bothered me about the story was the fact that an 8-year-old child had access to a gun. How does an 8-year-old child have access to a gun? I mean, especially if it was minutes after, that means either A, the child played the game, didn't understand the difference didn't understand the barriers between reality and make-believe, and went off, grabbed the gun because he knew exactly where it was, came back and shot his grandmother in the face. Holy shit. That's negligence. That's a negligent parent. But no one's going to blame the parent. No one's going to question why this 8-year-old child had access to a gun. They're going to blame the video game because no one likes to point the finger at themselves. They're not going to point at themselves saying, you know what, my bad, my fault, not the game's fault. A parent should not be letting a child that young play an M-rated game, no matter what. I don't care if it's Call of Duty. I don't care if it's Halo. I don't care. Because when Halo first came out, it was kind of cartoonish, I would say. It didn't even have strong language. It had mild language, like what you see in a PG-13 movie. But other than that, it didn't have blood and gore. There really wasn't a war. It was just blood splatter. Even then, it was fake. It was blue, green, purple. Even the human form did look real. But now that it's gotten further, it's starting to get a little bit more stronger language, and I think they should do that. Now, like, if he's 13 years old, he wants to play online with his friends, okay, fine, not a big deal. Especially with games like this, Call of Duty, not a big deal. But that's me personally. Everyone raises their child different. Everyone has their own ways of doing it. I am not questioning anyone. Well, technically I am. I'm not going to question anyone's way unless I feel like I should. Mainly, an 8-year-old child having access to a loaded gun and playing Grand Theft Auto. That should have never happened. That's two things that should have never have happened. And I hate to tell you this, people that want violent video games banned, they're here to stay. They're not going anywhere. Freedom of press and freedom of speech. Those two things are exercised in those games. But, yeah, I think I said that all these, I think that's all that needs to be said on that. The second thing I wanted to bring up was this whole Miley Cyrus thing. Basically, at the Video Music Awards in MTV, I think a couple of days ago, I don't know, I don't follow MTV, I think it's all this vulgar bullshit. She was acting very inappropriately in a very skin-tight bikini, I don't know what the hell it was, to where she was twerking, she was taking like the giant long finger and rubbing it between her legs, she was grinding up on some guy. And, you know, I can understand why people are pissed off. I can understand why people are calling her a whore, yada, yada, yada. But I think the main problem is that she's wanting to go and do her own thing, but society is still seeing her as Hannah Montana. They're still seeing her as a kid's idol. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of the stuff she's doing is disgusting. Flat out disgusting. If you want to be sexual, there's so many better ways to do it. Look at Britney Spears. I mean, when she came out, she made the song Flame. When she was finally old enough to make songs like that, it was erotic, but it was tasteful. Not like Miley Cyrus, where she's practically nude, taking a giant foam finger and rubbing herself with it. On TV, you can't do that. That's horse. Plain and simple. I'm going to put a free thought on that is horse. But I understand with her wanting to be like, you know, I'm 18 now, I want to do my own thing. Good for you. Great. That's awesome. But you also have to remember, you have an image that you lived by. You are Hannah Montana, a sweet little innocent girl. Now you're trying to make yourself into a slut. And a lot of parents are going to be pissed. You got to remember, there's still young girls that watch you. They're going to watch your every move. You are a role model still. You always will be because of your past role. And if you can't get that, you shouldn't be doing music anymore. I mean, if I had a little girl that grew up with Hannah Montana and watched her day in, day out, and then she started watching this stuff like this, start acting like her, there's no way in hell that little whore would be, or slut, or harlot, whatever you want to, derogatory word you want to use for this woman, is, my mind's just drawing a blank. I don't know what to say on her anymore. I really don't. I mean, like I said, I understand with her, I understand and respect her for wanting to do her own thing. I just don't respect the choices she's making. But that's basically just it. I really don't have anything further I want to discuss. I don't know much about the whole Syria thing other than that the president is saying that we are going to be going. What hiccups? Is that we are going to be going into Syria because they use chemical weapons against their own people, which honestly I think is the right choice. I think that we should be going in to put a stop to this because this has gotten out of hand, completely out of hand, and I think we need to be put in as a peacekeepers, so police action, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got time for today. I'm going on about 9 minutes and 44 seconds. So yeah. That's pretty much it. Leave a comment down below, like, favorite, subscribe, and I will see you on next time.